Hi everyone. In our class, I'm using an alternative grading system called standards-based grading. And there are a lot of advantages of this system compared to a traditional grading system. In this video, the big things I'll talk about are what are the problems with the traditional grading system and how is that different from a standards-based grading system? How will corrections and reassessments work in our class? How am I going to compute your grade? And what are some of the key reasons why I'm using this standards-based system? What's the problem with the traditional points-based grading system? The typical course flow goes something like this. Students will learn content for a few weeks, and then they get tested on it. So let's say I was a student in a class like this, and I got an 80% on my first quiz. Well, that means I had a 20% gap in my learning, but after that, the class would likely just move on to the next topic. That's problematic because having those gaps in my knowledge in earlier topics, which are likely more foundational, can make learning later topics a lot more challenging. This process helps identify those gaps in my learning, but it doesn't necessarily help fill them. How does a points-based grading system compare with a standards-based system? In both systems, instructors start with a set of learning objectives, things that they want students to be able to do, and I'm going to call these standards. In a points-based system, students have a fixed amount of time to learn something before they get tested on it. And on the test, they have one opportunity to demonstrate that they are proficient at those skills. So this system doesn't always support student growth because if a student performs poorly on early assessments, even if they put in the work to improve their skills, that early low score may still weigh their grade down. In a standards-based system, students have a flexible amount of time to learn something and multiple opportunities to demonstrate their proficiency. So this system supports students who learn at different speeds, and that helps create a more equitable and inclusive learning environment. There's a lot of research out there about why standards-based grading and similar grading practices are beneficial for student learning. It's even at the heart of Khan Academy's learning model. And this is a thumbnail to a talk that the founder, Sal Khan, gave about the topic.
So how do assessments and reassessments work? We have 15 standards. Here's a list of our core standards. The 13 at the top I'll assess you on in quizzes, and the 2 at the bottom come based on your performance on homework and participation. I'll score each quiz problem on a 0 to 4 scale using our proficiency rubric. So you'll get 4 points if your work is completely correct. I call that proficient. 3 points if you're approaching proficiency, 2 points if you've got the basics down, and so on based on how close you are to demonstrating proficiency. One of the key benefits of this grading system is that you can improve your score at any time by first correcting your work, and then you'll take a reassessment. And that's where I'll give you a new problem on that topic to work out. You can even reassess problems multiple times throughout the course. My one key policy is that you're allowed to reassess up to 2 standards each time we have one of these reassessments, and those will happen in class on Fridays. Your grade is determined according to the following table. A student needs to do all of the items in a particular row to earn that corresponding grade. So if a student has done all of these yellow highlighted items, they've met all their requirements in this row for an A. And then their final exam is what determines if they get a plus or a minus or just that normal grade. So this student got below a 0 and a 64% on their final exam, and that earns them a minus. So this would be an A minus for their grade. As another example, suppose a student has done these green highlighted things. Well, they've met all their requirements for a B for their baseline grade. In fact, in one of these categories, they were even at the A level in terms of how many standards in which they scored at least a 2. They don't have an A yet for their baseline grade because they haven't met all their requirements for an A yet. But if they keep doing corrections and reassessments, they could get there. And then this student got between an 80 and 100% on their final exam, so that earns them a plus. So they would currently have a B plus in the class.
On our syllabus and on Camino, I'll post a link to a Google Sheet like this that you can use to track your progress on the assignments and on the standards so far, and it'll auto-generate your grade for you at the bottom. I want to end with 4 big reasons on why I'm using a standards-based grading system. The first is it gives you multiple opportunities to demonstrate your proficiency. So it's okay to make mistakes. As long as you're willing to work and build your skills, you can always improve your grade through corrections and reassessments. The second reason is it gives you clear expectations on what you need to do to earn a particular grade. You'll know exactly what you need to do to get a B and to get an A, and I like that. The third reason is it gives you agency to improve your grade through corrections and reassessments, so this rewards you for your perseverance. And the fourth reason is it's important to me that you feel welcome in our class with your identity, whatever that may be. And I want our grading system to give flexibility to all learners, even if they don't get something down initially. I know that I don't always get something right on my first try. I want to create a space where you can work to build your skills and have multiple opportunities to show me what you've learned. And I am excited to work with you this quarter.